By the U.S. Department of Agriculture, 100 grams of fresh tomato today has 30% less vitamin C, 30% less thiamine, 19% less niacin, and 62% less calcium than it did in the 1960s. But the modern tomato does shame its 1960s counterpart in one area. It contains 14 times as much sodium. A couple of winters ago, I bought an assortment of supermarket tomatoes and brought them home for a tasting. I put 4 on the counter and reached for a cutting board, accidentally nudging one. I was too slow to stop it and watched as it rolled off the counter and fell on our newly refinished pine floor. It hit and traveled for a few feet but incurred no damage. As I retrieved it, my partner came into the kitchen and I tossed the tomato at her playfully. She shrieked and dodged, and my hearty store-bought tomato struck the floor with the solid thud of a baking potato. I bowled the fruit through the kitchen door, across the dining room, over a wooden threshold, onto the tile floor of the sunroom, where the tomato that would not die crashed against the door. No damage done. The best way to experience the true tomato taste is to grow your own. Little wonder that tomatoes are by far the most popular vegetable for home gardeners, found in nearly 9 out of 10 backyard plots. Both the tomato that would not die and the heirloom brandy wines in my Vermont garden are of the species Solanum lycopersicum, and both are red. But the similarity ends there. My brandy wines are downright homely, lumpy, deeply creased and scarred. They look like badly sunburned Rubens derrieres. Nor are they made for travel. More often than not, one will spontaneously split during the 25-yard stroll from garden to kitchen. If not eaten within a day or so after being picked, they develop brownish bruises and begin leaking a watery orange liquid. But that rarely happens. Around our place, brandy wines go fast. They may be ugly and fragile, yet there is no better tasting tomato than a garden-ripe brandy wine. With sweetness and tartness playing off each other perfectly, and juices that burst into your mouth in a surge that forces you to abandon all pretext of good table manners and to slurp, a real tomato's taste is the distilled essence of sun, warm soil, and fine summer days. Not everyone can grow a garden or head out to a neighborhood farmer's market in search of the ideal tomato, but we all have an alternative to the sad offerings of commercial agriculture. At a lunch spot in the town where I live, a handwritten notation appeared on the blackboard listing the daily specials one June afternoon. Dear customers, we will not be putting tomatoes on our sandwiches until we can obtain ones that meet our standards. Thanks. With that small insurrection, the restaurant's proprietor had articulated a philosophy that more of us should embrace. Insist on eating food that meets our standards only, not the standards set by corporate agriculture. Organic, local, seasonal, fresh, sustainable, fair trade. The words have become platitudes that skeptics associate with foodie elitists who can afford to shop at natural food stores and have kitchens that boast $5,000 ranges and larders filled with several varieties of vinegar, extra virgin olive oil, and natural sea salt. It's easy to forget that those oft-repeated words do mean something. Florida's tomato fields provide a stark example of what a food system looks like when all elements of sustainability are violated. This book began as an attempt to answer what I thought were a couple of simple questions. Why can't, or won't, modern agribusiness deliver a decent-tasting tomato? And why can't it grow one with a similar nutritional profile to the tomatoes available to any housewife during the Kennedy administration? My investigations into the mysteries of modern tomato production took me on a circuitous journey from my garden in New England to a research greenhouse at the University of California, Davis, to the rocky fields of a struggling produce farmer in Pennsylvania, and to the birthplace of tomatoes in the remote coastal deserts of northern Peru. But I always found myself coming back to where it all started for me, Florida. So, why can't we walk into a supermarket in December and buy the tomato of our dreams? Part of the reason is that it is essentially against the law. Regulations actually prohibit growers in the southern part of Florida from exporting many of the older, tasty tomato varieties because they're